Welcome and thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike Huggins from the Transformation Yoga Project, and I'm very excited to have you here. We're going to move into a 1-hour yoga practice. It'll be broken down into essentially 3 parts. First part is we'll do a little bit of breathing, nothing too crazy, but just to get ourselves grounded and maybe to build up a little bit of energy for our practice today. So we'll do a little breathing, and then we'll move into some mindful movement, maybe about 40 minutes of mindful movement. And finally, we'll then go into a guided rest, which is really the best part of the practice. And that's really why we're doing the practice, is to get to a point where we can find some rest and maybe quiet our mind down. So if you're new to yoga, welcome. And if you've been doing this for a while, hopefully you know the process by now. And that is, these poses are optional. And they're there for you to observe, to practice, but it's ultimately there for you to connect with your body. And the idea is, through our breath, we connect the mind and the body together. So if there's something that's not working for you today, because you might have an ache in your hip or your knee's not feeling right, please, you're your own instructor, you're your own teacher. So I'm just offering these suggestions. So please take care of yourself in the practice. You can take a rest anytime. And of course, the poses are always optional. So with that said, if you can come to a comfortable seated position, I happen to be sitting on a block. You may not have a block available. You may not even have a mat available, but that's okay. So I'll take my block away, and it's a little bit difficult for me because my hips are tight. So I'm going to take my knees out a little wider here or longer here. I can lengthen my spine. So the idea here, if you can, take a few moments and try to get to a comfortable seated position. And by that, I mean, if you can get to a point where your spine can lengthen here. And we'll simply stay here for maybe about 5 minutes, and we'll do some breathing. You're welcome to keep your eyes open or your eyes closed. So as we start to come into our practice, the first thing we do, and if you're able to close your eyes or just have a subtle gaze, maybe 5 or 6 feet in front of you, not really looking at anything in particular, just be aware of the natural movement of your breath. There's no right or wrong. Typically for this type of practice, we breathe in through the nose and we breathe out through the nose. But if you're having any issues or a cold, then obviously breathe through your mouth. It's simply awareness of the breathing. And by awareness, it's awareness of the physical sensations that occur as you're breathing in, feeling the chest rise. Maybe your spine lengthens just a bit. And as you exhale, your lungs start to release. Shoulders may drop down a bit. Then after a few breaths, you might notice that you're coming into a natural rhythm. Stay with that rhythm for a few more breaths, and then we'll start to move into what's known as a 3-part breathing. So 3-part breathing, as we start to breathe in, we're aware that we're breathing in. We have a slight pause, aware of that transition, and then exhaling, following the flow of our breath out as our shoulders drop, and maybe feeling a little sense of relaxation. In through the nose, slight pause, exhaling through the nose, maybe release any stress. Do a few more on your own. So now the breath is not necessarily on its natural flow. We're starting to sip a little bit more breath in. And as we exhale, we push just a little bit more out. Some people find it helpful to constrain the back of your throat, almost like they sometimes call it Darth Vader breath. You can almost hear yourself breathing. So your next breath in, Take a breath in and hold it. We'll hold that for an extended period here. And while you're holding that breath, perhaps you're able to sip in just a little bit more. And while you're doing that, can you release your shoulders? Can you find a little bit of comfort while you're under stress here? And then exhaling. Come back into that breath. The top of that breath, we're going to hold it. Perhaps a slight tuck of your chin. Fighting that urge for a sense of panic if you can. See if you can relax while you're holding your breath. And then a full, complete exhale. One more time, breathing in. Hold that slight tuck of the chin. And a full exhale out. Let the breath come back to a natural flow in through the nose and out through the nose. So we're going to move to the opposite this time. So we're breathing in through the nose and exhale, full, complete exhale all the way down towards your pubic bone. And we're going to hold that for a little bit of time here. Notice if you're able to soften your body. Transitioning back to the inhaling. Aware of that transitioning. Exhaling. Pushing that air out. Emptying your lungs. We'll hold that for a little bit. Inhaling last time, full breath in, and exhaling, full release, maybe pushing a little bit more out if you can, force just a little bit, try to relax, aware of any sensations, mental, physical, spiritual, and then release, come back to your natural breath. Notice if there's any changes. There may not be. Perhaps you feel you can breathe a little bit more openly. Or maybe you're feeling I can breathe a little bit more with awareness. Or just I'm a little bit more awake. And you may not have any of those. Bring your awareness back into the breath. We're not going to force it, but we're going to have that awareness. We'll add some simple movements here. So you can sit anywhere you like. If you have a block, that's awesome. If not, you can sit cross-legged or you can keep your legs, your knees bent. Inhaling, arms reach up high over your head, sort of like goalpost arms. Exhale, inhale, reaching up and see if you can feel your spine lengthen a bit. Exhale, one more time up. And exhale, your right hand's going to twist over towards the left side. Your left arm's going to come behind you, pushing up, lifting up your spine, and then exhaling, twisting to your degree. Come back to that breathing, full, complete breaths in through the nose and out through the nose if you're able. Inhaling, let's come all the way back up, goalpost arms, exhale. Inhale, lengthen, exhale. One more time, reach up, feel that spine lengthen. Exhale, left arm to the right side, right arm behind you, pushing through your fingertips, lifting up, lengthening that spine, twisting, turning towards the right shoulder. Notice the breathing might be constrained a bit, that's natural. Still able to breathe without having to force it. Inhaling, come all the way back up. Exhaling, release your hands down by your side. So if you're on a block, I would suggest maybe moving off that block. We're going to move into what's called cobbler's pose. Simply bringing the soles of your feet together. And we'll reach down and grab whatever you can, your foot, your ankle. Some are able to grab the outer arch. Some people maybe grab your toes. And as we reach down for our feet, as we inhale, we lengthen that spine. Maybe you can scoot your heels in slightly. Inhaling, lengthening that spine. And then exhale, tilting at the waist, starting to come forward. Now we're all going to be different here. Some of you might be able to bring your forearms onto your shins. Inhaling, lengthening your spine. Exhaling, tilting forward, a slight tuck of your chin. We'll stay here for a few breaths. Perhaps you're able to soften your hips. By that I mean you sort of let go of control. It's a subtle change here, and you start to feel the weight of your hips naturally open up here. Perhaps you were able to come back into focused breathing. Sometimes it makes sense to breathe in energy, exhale any tension. Inhaling, lengthen. Exhaling, soften. One more breath in. Exhale. Let's come all the way back up. Legs come long to your degree, pressing through your heels. So some of you might be able to straighten your legs. I'm not one of those people. My knees are kind of softened here. Whatever works for you. So it's almost like the letter L. Inhaling, reaching up, goalpost arms. Exhale, inhale, lengthen here so that spine lengthens. You keep that length as we start to come forward with the exhale. And please stop where you're feeling resistance. Don't feel like you have to touch your toes here. Just stay here for a few breaths. If you want any technical things, you can think about your shoulder blades staying in line with your back, not rounding your shoulders, but these are just minor things. You can think about pushing through your heels, feeling a stretch of your hamstrings and your calf muscles. Always coming back into that breath. Inhaling, slowly come up high. Exhaling, arms come down by your side. We're going to shift now onto our mats or onto the floor. We're going to come to tabletop. So tabletop, simply palms under your shoulders, knees under your hips. We'll do a few cat-cow, starting with a cow. Inhaling, lift up your head and tailbone. Exhale, tucking your chin, rounding your spine. Breath in as you lift, a little stretch of the back. Exhale, rounding the spine. How about two more on your own? Breath and movement together. And let's come back to that neutral spine. So this means you're supported here. There's no chance for any injury here. So from here, simply going to take my right arm long, and then feel the length of it here. And I'm going to take my left leg back. I press through my heel so my toes are on the mat. I feel a nice stretch of my calf muscles here. And you're absolutely welcome to stay here. If you feel you want to lift that left leg, you certainly can. Lifting that leg, but either way, we're going to focus on lengthening the arm and lengthening that leg. Feeling the torso lengthen here. And then notice what's happening to your breath. Can you bring your awareness back to that breath? What's happening to that stabilizing arm? One more breath, lengthening both ends. And as you exhale, release your hand, release your knee, and take a moment to resettle, maybe rebalance yourself. And then a breath to release that pose. And then we'll switch our way out to the opposite side. When you're ready, left arm lifts and lengthens. Right arm back, lengthening both ends. Option to lift up that back leg. Focused breathing
One more breath in through the nose if you're able to. Exhale, release your hand, release your knee back to that tabletop. We'll move into a downward facing dog, which is simply an inverted V. So your palms can walk out in front of you. Spread your fingers, pressing into your fingertips. Toes are tucked and pushing into inverted V. So you may notice that my knees are bent. That's because that's the way my hamstrings are so tight. Some of you might be able to straighten your knees. And for this particular practice, our heels are off the mat. Gives us a little more stability here, control. You can deepen into the stretch if you like. In fact, we can walk out that dog. We can bend one knee and then press out the opposite heel, and then just switch it out. Nice stretch here. And then come back to that downward facing dog. Stay right here. If you want to fine tune that down dog, you can press through your fingertips, a slight tuck of your chin. Notice if your eyes are open or closed, but it doesn't matter if it's not noticing that's important. But ideally, if your eyes were open, you're gazing between your legs. And then consciously think about your ribs starting to move towards your thighs. A subtle adjustment, but it gives that inverted V a little bit more definition. Sometimes it helps to open up the back by spinning your elbows in towards each other. These are subtle things, so don't get caught up with that. The main thing is to stay focused on the breathing and any discomfort you're feeling. If you can relax or loosen. Just one more breath in. And then exhale, slowly walk to the top of your mat. I'm going to face forward here, but theoretically you're at the top of your mat. Nice forward fold here. You're welcome to shake your head yes or no, or just circle your neck around, maybe a few snap, crackle, pops. And then also think about reaching and grabbing your opposite elbows. Inhaling a slight lengthen of the spine, and as you exhale, let the weight of your torso pull you towards the floor. And if you want to sway a little bit, you can move your elbows side to side. All the while, focused breathing. And then releasing your hands to the floor. Breath in, hands come onto your shins. We'll hold that there for a moment. Again, no need to actually focus on this, but if you want these subtle adjustments, think about squeezing your shoulder blades together and noticing that your spine might lengthen. One more breath in. Exhaling, release your hands to the floor. You can soften your knees here and slowly breathing in. Arms reach up high over your head. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, hands come to heart center. And keep your eyes open or closed here. I'd like to start with my toes nice and light. In fact, if you want, you can lift up your toes, spread them and return them to the mat. If your eyes are closed, perhaps do a physical scan. Just imagine you're outside of your body looking at yourself and see if you can find areas where you're holding tension, if you can soften that area. Notice your heart beating a little bit faster than it was a few minutes ago. Still consistently in through the nose and out through the nose, if possible. And then release your hands down by your side to mountain pose, dropping those shoulder blades. I love this pose because it looks like we're at attention, and we're at attention. So we're nice and strong, but we're also nice and relaxed. These two can be coexist, strong and relaxed.
So from here, we're simply going to add a few mindful movements to our breath. So I'm going to come to the top of my mat. You should be already there. Starting in mountain pose. If you're able to shift the weight to that left leg, soften the right knee. And if you like, you can lift up that knee or you can keep that toe on the mat. Find a point of concentration. A fixed point, maybe 5, 6 feet out in front of you. Notice the challenges of just standing on one leg. Focused breathing, focused concentration on a spot on the floor, the wall. One more breath in, and we'll release it out. Full breath in. And we'll shift right to the opposite side. Weight shifts to the right side, bending the left knee, toes on or off the mat. One more breath in. Exhale, release your foot down. Full breath in. Full breath out. Okay, we're going to move on from there. Once again, shifting the weight to the right side. Breathing in, that knee rises. So from here, we're going to move into what's known as a lunge, sometimes called a crescent lunge. So breathing in, that knee lifts. And breathing out, I step that foot back. Arms can come up high. So if you're feeling wobbly here, you can heel toe your feet a little wider, almost like railroad tracks. We're going to stay here for about 5 breaths. So see if you can settle in and see if you can breathe or accept the discomfort here. Of course, there should be no pain. Perhaps with each exhale, you can soften a bit. By soften, I mean maybe going a little bit deeper, but not forcing it. Perhaps you can push back to that back heel for a little more stability. These are just suggestions. Perhaps you can soften your shoulder blades. One more breath in, and as you exhale, release your hands down to the mat. They should be on the opposite side of that front foot. We'll come to a runner's lunge. I'm going to kind of wiggle my back foot back. So I come to my knee is about a 90-degree angle. You can use a block or some other tool or prop to help you. Inhaling, I kind of push through my fingertips and I try to lengthen my spine. Wonderful stretch of our leg. So we're going to transition out of this pose in the next couple of breaths by pushing off that back foot and coming to the top of the mat. If it takes you a few steps, that's absolutely fine, but we'll all meet in the forward fold at the top of the mat. So breathing in, exhaling, push off that back foot, coming to the top of the mat, nice forward fold, slight tuck to your chin, breath in, hands onto the shin, maybe squeeze those shoulder blades, feel the spine lengthen, exhaling, fold. Breath in, arms reach up high over your head. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Breathing in. Exhale back to mountain pose. Right to the opposite side. Lifting that left knee, finding that concentration of your breath. So same transition in a few breaths, that left leg, left knee is going to step back into that lunge. One more breath in. Exhaling, left leg steps back into that lunge. Adjust as you need to. Don't worry if you didn't land where you wanted to. Just move to where you feel comfortable doing that. Back to breath awareness. We're able to connect the breath with body sensation, inhaling a little bit of length and space, exhaling, loosening, releasing. One more breath in, exhaling, hands down, either side of that front foot. Adjust that back leg as you need to and come into that runner's lunge.
Focused breathing here to your degree. One more breath in. Exhale, push off that back foot best you can. Come to the top of your mat. Nice forward fold. Inhale to that lengthened spine. Exhaling forward fold. Breath in, reaching up high over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Full breath in. Exhale back to mountain pose. Let's do a little check-in here. Feel invigorated by the breath. Maybe you're not feeling invigorated today, but we can feel our heartbeat moving. And a check-in can be not only physical, it can be mental, emotional, spiritual. So we'll add a little bit on to that last sequence. Shifting the weight to the left side. I'm sorry, opposite way. I'm sorry, shift the weight to the right side, lifting that left knee. We're going to transition into that lunge like we did before. Breathing in, that knee lifts. Breathing out, that crescent lunge here. You can stay right here. If you want to follow along, you're welcome to do that. So I'm simply going to do a twist while I'm in this lunge. So my opposite arm, in this case, my left arm, is going to come forward towards my right knee. My right arm is going to twist as I open up here. Perhaps you can find, if you sequence your breath with movements, you'll find a little bit of depth here, maybe a little release. So inhale, lengthen. Exhale, a slight twist. We can use our breath to try to calm our mind down as we start to feel a little claustrophobic or start to feel some discomfort holding this pose. But only be here for 2 more breaths. One more breath in. Inhale, arms up high over your head. And exhale, arms down by your side. Push off the back foot, come to the top of your mat. Breath in and breath out. Inhale, arms over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center, releasing your arms down by your side. Beautiful. Now we'll shift to the right side, lifting that right knee up. So each side might be different. Maybe you're not able to go the same on this side. That's fine. Just do what you can. Breath in. Exhaling into that lunge. Adjust your feet as you need to. Stay. If you like, you can follow along. In this case, my right arm is going to come forward towards my left knee. My left arm twist, and I lengthen both arms here, connecting with my breath. So you might start to realize that we're trying to lead with the breath. Let the body follow the breath. And why we do that is because we can generate a slight pause between stimulus and reaction, so that breath can inform us what really is working for us. So we don't just move into something mindlessly. That breath can be the conduit between our thoughts and our body. One more breath. Inhale, arms reach up high over your head. Exhale, arms down by your side. Push off that back foot. Come to the top of the mat. Full breath in. Let it all go. Inhale, arms up high over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Arms down by your side. Let's take a moment for another check-in. We'll do one more round. We'll add on from here. Lifting that left knee up. Inhaling, exhaling, coming to that lunge. So here, this is a change. Now,
we're going to spin that back heel down. So the back heel is going to come on the mat, and the outer arch of my foot comes on the mat, maybe about 45, 60 degree angles. It's called Warrior One. But very quickly, we go right to Warrior Two. So you can see my arms along the side of my body. I'll just turn this way so you can see me. The front of my body is almost in line, parallel with the side of my mat. My arms lengthen. I try to keep equal energy. And then I simply take my gaze forward, maybe toward my index finger, come back to that focused breathing. Notice if there's any tension in your shoulders. We can adjust that by simply dropping your shoulders, maybe 1 inch, and lengthening both arms. We'll add some movement here, breath and movement together. Inhaling, arms come up high over your head, that front leg straightens. Exhale, come back to Warrior Two. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, Warrior Two. A few more on your own. Getting this idea of breath and movement together. One more. Inhaling, exhaling, Warrior Two. We're going to move right to extended side angle. So that right forearm is going to come on your knees. That front arm comes on your knee. That back arm comes up. And if your shoulders are feeling okay, you can bring that arm forward, a slight tuck your chin, maybe looking through like your armpit area. Somewhat awkward, but you can adjust as you need to. Perhaps you can feel a sense of energy flowing from the back arch of your foot, up your leg, up your outer ribs, through your arm, your forearm, throughout your fingers. Stay here, or if you like, take the top arm behind you and start to just open up that chest area. Stay focused on that breathing. This is where we get challenged on our breathing. Stay with that. Let it be your guide. We'll slowly start to unwind here. Arms come up high over your head. Pull yourself up using your core. Now, this is where it's a little tricky here, so it might take you a few steps to do that. From here, we're going to go back to that lunge. So the back heel is going to start to spin off the mat, and arms come to that lunge. Breath in. Exhale, arms down by your side. Step back. Step to the front of your mat. Full breath in. Inhale, arms up high over your head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Arms down by your side. Take a moment, check in again. You should be at the top of your mat or somewhere near there. Opposite side. Inhaling, lift up that right knee. Focused breathing, breath in. Exhaling, step back into that lunge. We've been here a few times, so always feel like you can modify. You can actually put your knee on the mat. So what's great about our practice, start to realize what's working for our bodies. And now we're going to move to that Warrior Two. So once again, that back heel starts to come on the mat. I turn, 45-degree angle, arms come long. My hips, my waist are facing more or less parallel with my mat, the side of the mat. Extend my arms forward, take my gaze toward that index finger, and then I settle in with my breath. My breath is helping me make any physical adjustments that I might need. What's beautiful about this is that over time we can do this without any self-judgment about I can't do this or I can't do that. We start to appreciate all we can do. Just those shoulders if you need to. And we'll start to add a little movement here. Breath in, arms up high, legs straightens. Exhaling, warrior two. Inhaling, exhaling. Breath in, breath out. Two more. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Full breath in. Exhaling to warrior two. We'll go right to extended side angle. So my left forearm comes towards my left knee. Right arm up. I really get length here and I start to open up here. And stay, or we can move to that modified bind, arm come around, opening up your chest area here, maybe taking your gaze towards that right shoulder, but just notice how you feel. Don't force it, please. One more breath in and out. Inhale, top arm comes up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, back heel spins, arms over our head. Exhale, arms by your side, back foot comes forward. Inhale, full breath in. Exhale, full release. Arms up high over our head. Exhale, hands to heart center. Breath in, arms back to our side, mountain pose. Another check-in. Can we release anything we're holding, any judgments? Do you need to take a break? It's absolutely fine. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to take a break. So you should be at the top of your mat. I'm going to face forward. We'll just do a couple balancing poses here. So we're starting at mountain pose, shifting the weight to that left leg. We bend the right knee. We've been here a few times. This time we're going to transition into what's called airplane. It's simply going to lift this leg up, and as I exhale, I start to come forward using my arms as wings. Chest is proud. That back leg can stay up. But if that's not working for you, you certainly can put that leg on the floor. Either way, finding that point of concentration, breath, and awareness, the same point. So you're probably doing fine here. If you want subtle adjustments, sometimes it's helpful to squeeze your shoulder blades together. It kind of gives your chest a little bit of a lift. Sometimes it's helpful to spread your fingers and just feel like energy coming out of those fingertips, a little more stability. And sometimes it helps to focus on that big toe of your standing foot. These are all minor things that just techniques to help you along the way. One more breath. Inhale, slowly come up. See if you can keep that knee lifted. Lifted, perhaps you can hug your knee. Stay connected. It's okay if you fall out of it. And then release down, arms by your side. Shift to the opposite side. Right leg roots in, bending that left knee. Of course, you can always keep that toe on the floor. And on your next exhale, we'll start to transition into airplane. Doesn't matter if you do something different on this side. It means you have awareness of what you need. The two breaths, and we're going to start to transition back. Slowly come up. If we're able to keep that knee lifted, don't worry if you can't. You can take a couple steps to get here. Maybe grabbing your knee, if you can, lifting, lengthening your spine, breath. Exhale, release, arms by your side. So we'll now move into classic tree pose. Left leg roots into the mat. That right foot can go anywhere. It can be a kickstand. It can come onto your calf muscle, or it can come up above your knee joint. Hands are at heart center. Focused awareness, breath and concentration at the same point. You can stay here, or you're welcome to add some branches to your tree. Take your hands behind your back, or just keep them at heart center, or even down by your side. If you fall out of the pose, come back into the pose and notice if there's any judgment. Can you just smile? Only yoga, it's no big deal. And release your hands, release your foot. Full breath in, full breath out, and we'll go right to the opposite side. So whenever you're ready, you can move to any variation on this side. We'll come down here to the wobbliest side. Two more breaths here. And then releasing of your hands, release your feet, arms down by your side. Full breath in. So if you're not at the top of your mat, please come to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach up high over your head. Exhaling, forward fold. Soften the knees, fingers can touch the mat. Inhaling, hands onto your shins, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Exhaling, releasing your hands to the mat. You're going to step back into a high push-up. You're certainly welcome to put your knees on the mat. So either way, kind of a high plank or a high plank with your knees down. And then very slowly, we're going to release all the way towards the mat. And once we touch down, we'll go right into what's called Sphinx pose. So I'll move down. So my arms come in L shape, my forearms are on the mat. And if you're able to, maybe you can press the tops of your toes into the floor. And we'll just add a little bit of movement here. We lead with the chest. So breathing in, chest lifts. Your neck is just following along for the ride. So we're not really moving the neck, it's just moving along with our chest. In fact, a slight tuck of your chin. And we start to feel a nice stretch in our lower lumbar spine. You can stay, go deeper, you can back off. It's whatever you think your lower spine needs. Stay connected with your breathing. So we hit the mat, we hold the poses a little longer, and our mind immediately wants to wander. So be aware of that, and if you can, with kindness or compassion, let yourself back. A few more breaths here. And release down. All the way down, we're going to come from here. Hands come into low push-up position, toes are tucked. So a couple options here. We're just going to come up to a downward facing dog. So you can go straight up into down dog, or you can transition by bending your knees, come up, and then moving into a down dog. So we'll all end up in down dog. The soften of the knees start to come forward, and we're going to
come to a seated position. So now our feet are at the front of our mat. Arms can come long. And once again, see if we can keep our shoulder blades in line with our back. We're not rounding the spine, we're kind of tall here. I'm going to bend my knees, so we'll do a little bit of core work here, not too much. And simply, I keep my spine long, and I start to come back. And I start to keep coming back till I feel like myself rounding. So I'm going to keep myself long, and then I can start to feel my abdominal area start to fire up a bit. So we're doing this to work the core, but we're also making sure we're breathing. So our tendency is to kind of grunt through this. So we're not grunting through this, we're breathing through this. I love this pose because it's a great example of we can breathe through when we're working hard at something. We don't have to kind of hold our breath and just force our way through it. We can breathe our way through it. Slowly come all the way back up. We'll come right back down for a second one. Now, if you're used to doing this before and you feel like you want to lift up your legs, you can do that. But don't feel like you have to do that. Tendency is to do that and round your spine. I'd rather have your legs down and keep your spine long. We'll do this for 3 more breaths. And slowly come all the way back up. Now, if you're able to, I'll face forward. Cross your legs. Press your palms down by your side. Push to your palms and just lift up your hips. Just a little bit of release here, no big deal. So once again, legs come long. And this time I'm going to lengthen them, arms come long. And then very slowly, we're going to release all the way down. But we're going to try to do that without like plopping down to the mat. So we're going to fire up our core, abdominals, and we're going to sink down very slowly until finally we just got to release. And as we touch down, bend your knees. You can give yourself a nice hug. If you like, you can take your head and shoulders off the mat. You can roll sideways a bit. So keep your knees bent. And the head and shoulders come back down onto the mat. We'll start the transition into bridge pose. So for bridge, the knees are kept bent and the soles of the feet come down onto the mat. So theoretically, your feet are like parallel with your hips. And you start to slide your heels towards your hips. In fact, some of you might be able to actually reach down and touch your heels with your fingertips. I'm not one of those people, but I've heard that some people can do that. So from here, we are moving a little movement with our bridge pose. So arms come long over our head. We'll inhale, lengthen our arms. Exhaling, push through your heel, lift up your hips, and your arms come down by your side. Breath in and breath out. Inhaling, lift up your hips. Exhaling, release your hips down, arms come long over your head. Inhaling, exhale. Inhaling, lengthen those arms over your head. Exhaling, press through your heels, lift up your hips, arms come down by your side. Breath in and breath out. Inhaling, you can push through, lift up your hips. Exhaling, hips come down, arms come long over your head. Breathing in and breathing out. Last one, we're going to hold this one. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, hips rise, arms down by your side. Notice if your knees are like splayed in or out. See if you can, or at least imagine them facing forward. You're going to stay here about 5 more breaths, and if you'd like, you can interlace your fingers underneath your back. And some of you might even want to kind of scoot your shoulder blades underneath. Back to that focused breathing. And see if you're like holding anything tight, if you're anything you can loosen. Body's under tension, but we're still relaxed. Two more breaths here. One more breath in. Exhaling. Start to unwind so you can move your arms out from underneath your back and slowly release your hips down And if you're able to, we'll move into what's called butterfly pose. So the soles of your feet are going to come together. So to the extent you can, your toes and your arches come together. And your knees come out wide, and we're all going to be different here. I've got very tight hips. Some of you might be looser, your hips can go down. Either way, we're going to place one hand onto our heart, the other hand onto our stomach. We consciously release our hips. See if we can let gravity open them up just a bit. See if you can notice or feel your heart beating. Certainly feel the stomach expanding with every breath in. So you're welcome to stay here. We'll do one final twist before we move into a guided rest. So if you're happy and comfortable here, you're welcome to stay here. If you want to move into a spinal twist one last time, you can bring your knees together. One last time, we'll give it a hug. Head and shoulders will stay on the mat. And I'm going to release my left leg long. So my left leg is long on the mat. My right knee is bent. I'm going to take my opposite hand, my left hand, and I'm going to guide my right knee across my body. And my right arm is going to release by my side. This is one of my favorite poses. And we say it's like a long lost friend. It's always there for me. Called a supine spinal twist. And very slowly, we're going to come back to center. So that right knee is going to now leg straighten, excuse me. And we'll bring the left knee in. You can get a little squeeze here. And that right heel, you push it away. And then with that right hand, we'll guide that left knee across your body for a twist on the opposite side. If you like, you can take your gaze towards your left side, or your left shoulder even. Again, no big deal, but a little tip would be consider that that left shoulder blade stays on the mat. Sometimes you think we're going deeper, but it changes this twist. We want to keep that left shoulder on the mat if that works for you. No big deal if it doesn't. These are just minor techniques. And slowly we'll come back to center. Both knees come in for one last squeeze, one last hug. You can roll side to side if you like, massage your lower spine. And then we're going to release into rest. So there's many ways to do this. Classic way is to simply come out, lay on your back. Your feet come to the outer edges of your mat, toes out, heels slightly in, and then your arms come out by your side. Maybe your palms, you face upward, a natural curvature of your fingers, slight tuck of your chin. That's just one of many possibilities. So if that's not working for you, you certainly can just turn on your side. And if it's even helpful, you can come to a seated position or sit on a chair, or you can even go to a wall and move your hips to the wall and your legs go straight up. So it's like an inverted L. Either way, take this moment to think about the transition from that breathing or mindful movement to rest. So there's no need to kind of focus that coordinated breathing, inhale, lift, exhale, twist kind of thing. Just let it go. We're going to stay here for about 5 minutes. Your eyes can be open or closed. Perhaps with each exhale, you can feel your body getting a little bit heavier. If your eyes are open, perhaps just a soft gaze. If your eyes are closed, you end up falling asleep. That's actually a good thing. So we'll stay here, excuse me, for about 5 minutes. I have these chimes
So if you happen to maybe doze off, you'll hear 3 chimes when we're starting to come back. So don't be alarmed, don't be startled, and you don't have to jump right back in. It's just a gentle nudge, if you will, to start to bring yourself back. So as you lie on your mat with your eyes closed or eyes slightly open, notice any body sensations. And by that, I mean, perhaps you can notice that the body is going to naturally want to recover from what it just went through. We've released control of our breathing. And the idea is that by moving through this mindful movement practice, the body can use up some energy so that when we come to the mat or the floor, we can just relax. And when we can let our body relax, we can start to do the work to quiet our mind, recognizing that it doesn't always come to us. But we do that without any self-judgment. If you'd like, you can have breath awareness without breath control. It's natural for thoughts to enter and they kind of fly in, and it always happens. And if we're able to, you can release them, let them fly out without even continuing the thought. There's no need to continue the thought. In fact, there's no need to make any decisions. This is not the time for that. This is the time to rest. Without controlling your breath, perhaps imagining with each exhale that your body gets a little bit heavier, almost to a point where you can imagine or feel the outline of your body on your mat with each exhale. So release, letting go. If you find yourself wandering, just a gentle nudge back. Awareness of any sounds in the room that you're in. Awareness without any reaction. Breath awareness without control. Perhaps start to deepen your breath. As you deepen your breath, perhaps you have additional awareness. Slow return. So this no rush, jump back in. You can stay here for a few more moments. Perhaps taking time to thank yourself, a moment of gratitude. I know we have a lot of things going on in our lives, especially now. But we're here, we showed up. Something to be thankful for. And if you're like to join in starting to get some movement into your fingers and your toes, if you're lying on your back or even on your side, you can take your arms long and your legs long and nice long stretch. And as you start to bend your knees, the soles of your feet come onto your mat. And when you're ready, you can turn to one side, kind of a fetal position or a modifying fetal position. The eyes can be closed if you're comfortable, or open if that works for you. And when you're ready, you can push yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Welcome to keep your eyes closed or a slight gaze. And you're welcome again to join me with your hands at heart center. Thumb knuckles onto our sternum. Fingertips touching, kind of a connection, sometimes called mudra. A moment of gratitude for our practice today. A moment of gratitude knowing that even though we're doing this from afar, at this very moment, there are literally thousands of people joining in a practice. We are part of that community. You can keep your hands at heart center. If you'd like, you can join me in bringing your thumb knuckles up to your forehead as we honor each other. We honor the light that shines in us, the goodness, the warmth, and the energy in our hearts that connect us all. And it's traditional to end our practice, honor each other by saying the word namaste. Thank you for joining this practice today. My name is Mike Huggins with the Transformation Yoga Project, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.